Hello everyone and thank you for tuning in. Today we'll be looking at the brand new Corsair Obsidian 900D, Corsair's newest super tower case. We're going to be taking a closer look at it and looking at all the features and some things that I found out that haven't been mentioned about this case. So first what we're going to be looking at is the front panel. We have the nice little push button kind of enclosure that covers up the front panel. You just push it and lower it down. And here we got the microphone. We have the headset, we have two USB 3.0 ports, we have the reset button, and here to the right we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 USB 2.0 ports as well. And at the top we have our power button right in the middle there. And right under the front panel we have our 5¼ inch bays. Now they are nicely stealthed in with the nice plastic little cover there. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4, so that should be plenty enough for your DVD drive or fan controllers that you may be using. So to release the 5¼ inch bay covers, we've heard some complaints on how it's a little bit of a pain. You have to go inside the case to access the tabs, but it's really not big of a deal and it's very easy to do. So all you need to do is put your finger in there and you can see the little tab on the inside there. And what you need to do is just pry it inward towards you. And with a little bit of force, it will wiggle and you could easily just go ahead and pop the rest of the cover off the case. Next I want to show you how to install the DVD drive in the new case, as well as what it looks like. It's very simple to do. It's vastly improved over the 800D, I feel. You just take the cover off, slide the drive right in, and then lift up the tab on the side, slide it in again, and it will lock itself into place. And it's not going to move around once it's in there and locked into place, unlike some of the other cases I found. Once it's locked, it still has some free room in there to kind of wobble around. This is definitely not going to move. It's very secure and it's toolless, which is what I really like about it. And it doesn't look all that bad. So right below the 5¼ inch base, we have a nice brushed aluminum plate. Now this covers up the 3 fans that are underneath, and also allows airflow to go around and into the sides of the front of the case. So it's very easy to take off. Just grab a hold of each corner and pop them off, and the plate will come right off. So once you get the aluminum plate off, the dust cover is right underneath. Very easy to take out as well. Just go ahead and push in the top 2 corners and the dust filter will come right out. So taking a closer look at the screen, we can tell it's a nice fine quality screen. It's completely attached to the little shroud they made here. And it's really cool how they have the sides coming down to block a lot of the dust coming in from the sides. The way they designed the front here, it's going to intake air from the side. So it's cool that they thought of having the shroud also wrap around to the sides. So right underneath that fan shroud we have 3 Corsair AF120L fans that it comes with the case. Now you can see this is also one of our mounting points for a 360mm radiator as well. Now we'll swing around to the side of the case and look at the side panel. So it's very simple to remove the side panel window. Just go ahead and push the button in at the top and then grab the side panel and pull it off. Now I really like the new design of the push button they used on the 900D. I think it's a big improvement over the 800D. You don't have to finagle with the panel, especially when you're closing it, to get inside the slot and to make sure it latches. It's kind of just does it itself, which is really cool, and I really like. So we'll go ahead and take a closer look at the bottom panel now. Now we'll take a look at the lower compartment of the 900D. It uses this little latch on the side which sits flush on the panel. Just simply push in and then pull the latch down and it releases it from the magnets, holding the door securely to the case. Now the first thing you'll notice when you open up the side panel is the magnetic dust filter already applied on the side of the case. Now some people were saying that they don't like the magnetic dust filters, but personally, I think they're genius. They're very easy to clean. You just pick it right up off the panel, and it's very easy to clean. And something about the magnetic dust filters, other than standard dust filters, are the plastic dust filters that you usually have in the cases can rattle and actually cause noise. And with this magnetic dust filter, it's not going to rattle whatsoever. So that's something I like about the dust filters that are magnetic. Now, in case you're not going to use a side panel for an intake or your radiator, they have a cover over it already applied to the 900D when you get it. And to take this off, there are just 8 screws that you have to unscrew from the side panel, and the plate will come right off, and that will expose the grill underneath. So on this side of the panel, it will hold up to a 480mm radiator if you're using 120mm fans. Or if you're going to use 140mm fans, it could hold up to a 420mm radiator. But you do not actually mount the radiator to the side panel itself. It comes with these little brackets that are screwed to the bottom of the case here, and all you have to do is take the hard drive cages out and then unscrew these brackets, and they actually fit into the slots in the case, which is going to make your bracket for your radiators or your fans to install to. And then to close the side panel, just simply lift up and the magnets will clasp onto the side panel and the latch will lay flush. So moving on to the back of the case, you can see that they've definitely opened up the whole back panel of the case. They've totally redesigned it from the 800D. They made this a lot more air friendly if you're going to air cool your case. It's definitely made for water cooling in mind, but if you're going to air cool it, they've definitely allowed you to have that option. Opening up the back panel, I really like the kind of design they used for the mesh. And right below that, we have another spot for another radiator or case fan. It will hold a 140 millimeter fan or a 120 millimeter fan. And then right to the left of that, we have a spot for our I/O plate. And right below that, we have 10 expansion slots. Now, this is definitely a step up from the 800D, which only had 7. Now, this is going to support a wide variety of motherboards, as well as, if you're going to do quad SLI or Crossfire, it's going to support all that. And then to the right of that, we have the case nice and open for good airflow. And below the expansion slots, we have something totally new here seen by Corsair. We have two spaces for ATX power supplies. Now you could run dual PSUs in your system if you wish. Now these are going to be standing vertically inside the case, which will allow you to mount them both side by side. They will fit a wide variety of power supplies. I think even the Corsair AX1200i will fit in here. And the back of the case is keeping the same look as the front of the case. Now I like to say it's made out of a thick metal, so it's going to give the case a lot of durability if you're transporting it around or even just sitting on your desk. So now let's move on to the back panel. So the back lower panel opens just like the front. Just grab the latch and pull it right down. And it also comes with a magnetic dust filter just like the front one. Now here is the back lower compartment. Now it comes pre-installed with the brackets already set up for your radiators. Now you could fit a dual 120 millimeter radiator, you could fit a dual 140 millimeter radiator, or if you move your power supply up a slot, you can actually fit your 480 down here as well. Now just like the front lower compartment, the back lower compartment, you could also take the panel that they have on there already, so you get the nice mesh, so good airflow or airflow from a radiator could go and escape out the back. And later in the video, I'll talk about the hard drive cages as well as the front panel connections. And moving up a little bit, here we have the back of the motherboard tray. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about this and a couple of features that the new 900D has. So I really like how Corsair kept all their front panel connections together in a bundle. This makes cable management easy, and it just looks so much tidier, and I really don't like when cables or cases come with a whole bunch of cables out there in the back, and it takes you 20 minutes to sort them all out. So this way, it's kept very nice and tidy, and I like that. On the back, Corsair also includes this EPS power extension cable. It has a 4-pin on one side and also an 8-pin on the other. So a new little feature that Corsair has added to the 900D are these little cable management latches on the back that you see here. These latches are very easy to operate, just simply unlatch from the back and they'll open right up. This is awesome that they include this on the case. It's going to make cable management a lot cleaner and tidier, especially if you're running cables up into and from the top. So there are a lot of cable management holes on the back here. See at the top we got 4, and that's great if you're going to run power fan cables from your radiator. And there right below the 5¼ inch bays, you have a very wide hole there for maybe your power and SATA cable coming from your DVD drives. And then just to the right of that, we have 2 holes at the very top there. Right underneath, you have 2 more holes for maybe 24-pin SATA. And at the very bottom, you have 2 more holes. And these all come with grommets already installed, all of them. And you can see there at the bottom, you have 2 more underneath for your front panel connections and some maybe USB headers. 4 holes, you have 2 more holes there, and that's great for your 8-pin power cable. And then just at the back, right behind your CPU, you have a nice big hole cut out, and this is going to be great if you want to swap out heat sinks and you need to get to a backplate, or on your water block, you have that nice big hole there, so you don't have to remove your motherboard out of the case. And looking at the bottom of the motherboard tray, we can see that we have a good 3/4 of an inch gap there for cables to come up from our power supply to the back of the motherboard. Now I really like how they kind of made the tray offset from the back of the case. It's going to allow a lot more cables to fit back there, and we have a nice big hole right there for our hard drives and fans from our front panel. So a lot of people would probably like to know how much space we actually have behind the motherboard tray for cable management, and I must say you have a good inch. Now, in some places, like behind the HDD cage and your 5 1/4 inch bays, you have a little more room just because, it indents in a little bit more. So I'm sure you have probably a good 1 1/4, 1.5 inches there. So overall, very spacious. Should be fine fitting any kind of cable whatsoever behind the tray, or even water tubing. Like I'm going to be running a 3/4 inch tubing behind the tray, and that should fit with no problem as well. So up towards the front, we have these fan hole cutouts. Now these are going to be for your fan power cables from your front panel. Now, as I said before, you could fit 3 fans in the front, 120mm fans. So this is awesome that they have these little fan holes cut out for cable management. So you just stick them right in there and then have them go down to the back of the motherboard tray. And now we're ready to move on to the interior of the case. So first what we'll do is we'll go over what front panel connections you get with this case. So you can see we have about two USB 2.0 connections there that are going to attach to your motherboard, and an HD audio. So next we have the USB 3.0 dongle. Now, unlike other times where they've really had, they had the connection so where you'd have to run the cable through the case, out the back of the case, and in the back of the motherboard. Now that was just looked really bad, and so finally what they did was they created this little dongle, and that's going to connect directly onto your motherboard. So you're not going to have to run cables through the back of the case and into the back of the motherboard. Much better. So here we have your power and reset switch, as well as your HD LED light. So as you can see, there are plenty of room inside this case. It supports mini ITX, micro ATX, ATX, extended ATX, and the massive HPTX motherboards. This case also comes with 3 hard drive cages. Now these cages each hold 3 hard drives or solid state drives for a total of 9 drives. Now one of the drives is hot swappable, but we'll talk about that drive in a little bit. What I really like about these cages is it offers the user a lot of flexibility. You could stack these cages. You could also lay them out all across the bottom of the case. And there's enough space for 2 more hard drive cages, totaling the hard drive capacity to 15 drives. So one thing I'd like to point out is one of the supports for the bracket goes across right underneath this hard drive cage, and if you take that out, it will serve as a perfect spot for a pump. You can mount it. It actually looks as if it's made for a pump to sit there. So at the very bottom of the case, we can see that we have 2 supports there for our power supplies if we're about to run single or dual. There's a support for each. And then right to the right of that, we have all of our little supports for our hard drive cages. As I said before, you could add another 2 hard drive cages for a total of 15 drives. Now, one thing is, if you're going to put a radiator at the bottom of the case, you cannot put any hard drives down there. It just will not fit. So that's one thing about this case. It's not, I don't want to say it's not native support for all these radiators, but you just will have to plan out where you're going to put your hard drives before you actually run your loop. Another thing I like to mention that I noticed is if you take out the 2 hard drive cages right there that I have sitting there, they're actually screwed into the back. Now if you take those out, there's actually a bracket there, and that bracket is perfectly spaced for 2 120mm fans. Now they don't advertise this for the case, but you can probably actually fit a 240mm radiator there as well. So at the top you have radiator support for a quad 120mm or a triple 420mm radiator. Now you can take the top off. It's not very removable, but there are tabs at the top for you to pop the top off so you can install your radiator at the top. And you have plenty of room up there as well. Once you install your radiators, you could easily do a push-pull configuration if you want to, with plenty of room to spare. So last but not least, I thought I'd talk about the hot swappable hard drive cage that comes with the case. This hot swappable drive cage supports up to 3 hard drives or 3 SSDs. We'll go ahead and take out one of the trays so you can see. As you can see, there's the little holes there for an SSD or your full-size hard drive. Go ahead and put that in, and it just latches and snaps right back into place. And on the back, we'll talk about the black plane that actually your hard drives connect to. You can see the SATA power cable all connected there for you in one cable, so you just have to plug that single one into your SATA power, And off that we have the 3 SATA cables to go into your motherboard for your hard drives. And at the bottom, we open up the tray, and here we have all your screws and accessories that come with the case. Now, I like to also mention that the case already includes the standoffs pre-installed on the motherboard, so you won't find any of the extras in here. You'll just have to take the extras off of the motherboard already. But that's pretty cool. I like how they install it for you. So they include a bunch of zip ties, which is pretty cool, and also a lot of extra screws and spacers that you may need if you lose a lot of the parts that are on the case. And they give you a generous amount of extra screws. I mean, the motherboard screws, hard drive screws, case screws, and also just something that's I don't really see too much, but they also give you a bunch of fan screws. Now, as you can see here, just a big bag of screws, and I'm happy that they supply you with that. Now, one complaint was the fact that it's an odd angle to screw in the screws to your expansion slots. Well, they give you this cool little Allen key, and it actually has a screwdriver on one end, so it's a good right 90-degree angle for you to go and access the expansion slots with no problem. And finally, we'll go over the specs of the case. The case is 27.2 inches tall, 25.6 inches long, and 9.9 inches wide. It is definitely a bigger case than the 800D, and it has a lot more features. And for some of you out there that may be wanting or maybe thinking about upgrading their 800D, I could definitely say it's worth it. I'm coming from an 800D as well, and I'm totally satisfied with the purchase. So that about sums up my video of the Corsair Obsidian 900D in-depth review. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please comment, rate, and definitely hit that subscribe button because I'll be having a awesome build with this case coming up. And definitely leave a comment in the description if you guys were going to get this case or want this case, or if you just have a question about the case that may be something I didn't cover in the video. Let me know. And thank you, and stay tuned again. Bye.